Hi, my name is Amari Smith, and today I'm talking to my client about confidentiality and informed consent. When you hear the word confidentiality, it means I have to keep everything private that my client is telling me. When I mean keep everything private, that means when me and my client is having a meeting, it is my job as a social worker to not go around and spread his or her business at all. With me doing so, I'm not only invading their privacy, but I'm also risking their growth and progress that they have come so far to. With me doing it, also risking me losing my license and also risking that my client losing trust in me. And as a social worker, my main priority as a social worker is to help others help others help themselves. For example, if me and my client is having a meeting and he's telling me how he's dealing with the passing with his mom, it's important as me as a social worker to not spread anything that me and my client is talking about and what my client is going through. With me doing it, that's me being unprofessional and not doing a social work, being the best social worker that I'm supposed to be. It is also making me fail my client. And that's not the social worker that I want to be or not want my client to ever think I would be. The only way that I invite my client progress or tell my client information if I was forced by the law of courts, or if I was forced, well, my clients told me. If my client told me that they want to harm themselves or harm others, it's important as me as a social worker to report that to law enforcement. With me doing that, I help my client from preventing something my client might do. It's important for me to do what's right and not to do what's wrong. And as a person, if my client told me anything like that, it is my job to report that to law enforcement at all costs. I believe in what's right and what's wrong. And me not telling what's going on with my client and want to harm others or harm himself, that's not being the best person I can be. That's not being who I am. With me not reporting that, that's not my values, that's not my biases. That's not how I am. With me not reporting, that's not only failing myself or my job or my profession or my colleagues, that's also failing my client. And as a social worker, I want to help my client the best way I know how, even if they don't even realize it. My client might not understand, but as a social worker, it's my job to report anything that my client says. Not report anything that my client says, but report anything that my client wants to do when it comes when he or she wants to harm anyone. Overall, as a social worker, it's my obligation to report anything that my client tells me at all costs. Without doing it, what kind of social worker would I be? What kind of example would I be with not? What kind of example would I be with not doing the right thing, not following ethical code of ethics? With me not doing it, it's telling me that I'm not the social worker that I'm meant to be. I'm not honoring my social work code of ethics, and I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I can't be a social worker that turn a blank eye when my client tells me. If my client tells me something that can risk hurting themselves or others, it's my job to report it. And I will report it. I want to be the social worker to do the right thing. And when it comes to confidentiality, when it comes to certain rules and regulations, it's my job and duty to report what my client tells me. When it comes to when they want to harm his or herself or harm others, it's my job to do that and it's my obligation. Another thing I like to talk about is informed consent. When it comes to informed consent, as a social worker, it's my job to make sure that my client is on board for me to do anything like recordings, releasing, releasing anything about their file. It's my job to inform them. It's my job to get information that signature or proof that's saying they're okay with it, not okay with what they want me to do. It's my job to do that as a social worker. It's my job as a social worker to inform them of everything that they need to know that I need to tell them. As a social worker, last thing I want to do is blindside my clients. I want to be a social worker to be upfront, honest with everything that's going on with me as being a social worker. As a social worker, I'm going to be honest over my client and want my client to trust me. But I also want the trust to go both ways and I want the respect to go both ways. I want my client to know I have their best interests at all times. And I want to know that I want to help them help themselves and not harm them any kind of way. And that I'm here to help no matter what.